The real reason we are trying so hard to leave Earth. Neil Degrasse Tyson's theory. Is it aliens? Yes, we are a part of this universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. Words famously said by American astrophysicist, cosmologist, planetary scientist, author, and science communicator. If the universe is already in us, why are we trying so hard to leave the Earth? In this video, we find out the real reason we're trying so hard to leave Earth. Neil Degrasse Tyson's theory. Is it aliens? Welcome to Trending's Finest, where we give you the hottest updates on the world's most viral news, videos, and stories in the most exciting format. Click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to not miss a single beat of the world's pulse. Since 1996, Neil Degrasse Tyson has been the Frederick P. Rose Director of the Hayden Planetarium at the Rose Center for Earth and Space in New York City. He has truly dedicated his life to the exploration of space and has declared that reaching farther into space is not just a possibility, but an inevitability. Today we go over the why behind this space race and tell you the top 3 reasons humankind is so excited to leave Earth, including the top reason involving alien overlords. Stay tuned. Number 3. The U.S. needs a Space Force, a 6th military branch that would organize, train, and equip a corps of military space personnel. Funding for the creation of that type of arm of the military is contained in the $738 billion defense policy bill that passed the House in December 2019. It's also the idea behind the Netflix comedy Space Force with Steve Carell. With the space industry long overdue in its shift towards commercialization, Tyson reiterated his support for a Space Force to protect U.S. interests in space. There needs to be an increase in regulation in space, he said, adding it's been a little bit of a Wild West thus far. In a 2018 TV interview with Stephen Colbert, Tyson defended the Space Force plan by saying,
Just because it came out of Trump's mouth doesn't require that it then be a crazy thing. I'm just saying.
It don't help.
Tyson said that the Space Force would just assume all the space activities that were under the Air Force jurisdiction since the 60s, and added that he's hopeful that the Space Force would take the lead on tasks like asteroid defense and cleaning up space debris.
And so, to have a Space Force, you're just sliding all of these activities under this new umbrella. And then you might add a few things. In fact, if I had any say in the matter, I'd say, why don't you throw in asteroid defense? We need some of that. And how about, why don't you clean up space while you're at it? Get rid of the space debris. That would be a defensive move.
We need him.
The point of the matter is that our space assets need defending, and these space assets aren't really a new concept since we've had military space assets since the 60s, and essentially spy satellites are any space assets in the service of the military. Does this mean space war? Well, Tyson pointed out that in 1967, the United Nations, the U.S. included, signed a treaty for peaceful use of outer space. But there is a gray area that allows for nations to defend their space assets.
In 1967, there was a treaty put forth by the UN and signed by parties,
Including the United States.
Including the United States, and today 107 countries have signed it. It's the peaceful use of outer space, and it's beautiful. You just want to sing Kumbaya. It's beautiful space or peace and prosperity, and if your astronaut is in trouble, we'll send someone to help you, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Despite its sci-fi sounding title, Tyson said it's impractical that Space Force combat would actually occur in space, since the destruction of satellites or other objects would create fast-moving debris that would destroy other assets in orbit. Still makes for a great TV show, though. And that was just our first reason. Casual space travel and space supply chains might be closer than you think, friends, and we still have the most ludicrous-sounding but scientifically founded reasons coming, including how leaving Earth can impress our alien overlords. 2. We are destined for a future of a wild, capitalist frontier of interplanetary business, asteroid mines, and factories on the moon. As mentioned already, space travel is long overdue in its shift towards commercialization. It may sound like science fiction, but Tyson believes this is only a few decades away from becoming a reality. Those asteroids are like samples of the Earth's core, according to Tyson, What's in the Earth's core that's so valuable, you may ask? Well, you have iron and nickel, worth a pretty nickel, yes? And you also have rarer Earth elements. He predicts that there's more gold on these asteroids than has ever been mined in the history of the world. Now it's just a matter of affordability. At present, the cost of space logistics would be $62 million to send 18,300 pounds of cargo into geosynchronous transfer orbit. That's the high Earth orbit that allows satellites to match Earth's rotation and more than 22,000 miles above sea level on SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. Since there's 27 pounds in a standard gold bar, there's not really enough space bang for your Earth buck yet. Let me highlight that last word. Yet. Tyson sees a workaround, though, an efficient business model that operates entirely in space. It's a free space market with the resources in space best used and best served in space. He imagines a factory on the moon supplied with water from comets and raw ingredients from other metallic asteroids. With that, you move materials and products back and around in space. In Tyson's words, in this free space market, you buy it from me space to space, and now you come up and compete. 1. We, you, me, and every person and entity in the cosmos are actually characters in some giant computer simulation, and we need to perform so the simulators don't shut us down. The simulation hypothesis was a controversial but oddly believable notion tackled in the 2016 Isaac Asimov Memorial Debate at the American Museum of Natural History. Moderator Neil Degrasse Tyson put the odds at 50-50 that our entire existence is a program on someone else's hard drive and said that the likelihood may be very high. He likened the idea to how humans and chimpanzees are leaps and bounds apart in intelligence, even though we share more than 98% of our DNA. Imagine how there could be a being whose intelligence is that much greater than our own. Compared to them, we'd be drooling, blithering idiots, according to Tyson. This could mean that everything in our current lives is just a creation of some other entity for their entertainment. Statistics is in the side of this argument, with University of Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003 suggesting that members of an advanced civilization with enormous computing power might decide to run simulations of their ancestors. With their immense computing power, it'd be easy to run countless simulations to the point where the vast majority of minds would actually be artificial ones within such simulations, rather than the original ancestral minds. We could easily be one of those simulated minds. Another wide observation in support of this is how the farther we go in our exploration of the universe, the more it seems to follow mathematical laws. One might think it's not because it's a given, but rather it's a function of the universe dictated by an advanced civilization pulling the cosmic strings. According to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT cosmologist Max Tegmark, all this order to the universe suggests a computer game with rules seemingly completely rigid and mathematical, and this all reflects the computer code in which it was written. This discovery is also reflected in physics with James Gates, a theoretical physicist at the University of Maryland, noting how the error-correcting codes, the codes that make browsers work, could also be found in his study of equations about quarks, electrons, and supersymmetry. Spooky, right? Of course, there are two sides to this debate, and I'll leave it to you to find out the other side's arguments. You can even comment them down below so we can talk about it some more. More important to our discussion is how the simulation hypothesis is a reason for us to leave Earth. Well, if we were in a simulation among many, which do you think would be a more interesting simulation to watch? A daring space-exploring society or a run-of-the-mill Earthbound society? That's why Tegmark's advice is to go out and do really interesting things so the simulators don't shut us down. Tyson agrees and points out that we still have a say in our small simulation matters, since we don't think of ourselves as deities when we program Mario, even though we have power over how high Mario jumps. There's no reason to think they're all-powerful just because they control everything we do. Truly, the final frontier beckons from just beyond the horizon, and Neil Degrasse Tyson is a real pioneer in this adventure. What do you think of Tyson's theories? Tell us in the comments down below, and we'll surely make an exciting discussion out of it. Another interesting question from Tyson regarding the simulation hypothesis is, what happens if there's a bug that crashes the entire program? Could COVID-19 just be a bug in the program? Well, bug or not, COVID-19 is here, so if you want the latest lowdown on the pandemic that swept the globe, you should check out our other video, Will COVID-19 Cases Decrease Before 2021?, where we go into detail about the most recent developments in the international fight against the dreaded virus. Thank you for watching. This is Trending's Finest. Always the trendiest, always the finest.